In this lesson, we're going to take this piece of artwork here and use it as a background to put a model on. So, in order to do this, we want it to look like a seamless background where it's on the wall and then kind of curves out and goes onto the floor. So I'm going to make myself a rectangular selection about 2/3 of the way down, just like that. Then go to the Edit menu and go to Transform and choose Perspective. I'll grab one of these corners here and drag this out. That's probably about far enough. Press Enter on the keyboard to lock that in. And then go to the Select menu and choose Deselect. So now our background's looking a little bit more realistic, like it's kind of bending out. But we've still got a little bit more work to do. Usually, when we're photographing something, the background's a little bit blurry and whatever's close to us is in focus. So to make that happen, I want to take this background layer and make a copy of it. So I'm going to grab it and drag it down to the bottom of the Layers panel on top of the New Layer button to make a copy. And of course you can go to the little menu button up in the upper right too and choose Duplicate Layer. So I've got this copy, and I'm going to go into the Filter menu and go down to Blur and choose Gaussian Blur. And I'm just going to get just enough blurriness to where it's going to look realistic. Click OK. And what we need to do here is need this blurriness to kind of fade out into being sharp down near the bottom. So to do that, I'm going to use a layer mask. So I'm going to add a layer mask by clicking on the Layer Mask button at the bottom of the Layers panel. And you can see right here, Layer Mask has been added. And what I'm going to do with this is go over here and choose the Gradient tool. And up in the top in the Options bar, I'm going to make sure that it's a black and white gradient. Also that it's a regular linear gradient. And as long as I'm at it, make sure the mode is normal and the opacity is 100%. And I'd like my blur to kind of transition through here. So I'm clicking and dragging. And you can see that's leaving this background blurry and allowing my foreground to be sharp. Now this may be difficult to see on the video, but here's our mask, and you can see the gradient in it. So there we go. In fact, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to make this layer a lot more blurry just so you can see the effect of it better. Okay, so you can see here how it transitions out into being sharp. Alright, so now we've got our background laid out, so let's go get a person to put in here. Now I've already got a picture of a person, and I've already made a selection of her just to save us time. I'm going to grab the tab here for this picture and bring it off to the side, and then use the Move tool and move her into my background. And she's a little bit big for the background, so I'm going to go to the Edit menu and go down to Free Transform. I'm going to grab the corner and start scaling. And I'm holding down the Shift button so I don't accidentally distort our picture here while I'm doing it. Alright, that looks pretty good right there, so I'm going to press Enter to apply the change. Now this is starting to look good, but it's a little bit fake looking. And the reason why it's kind of fake looking is that we don't have a shadow under her. Now in this case, a shadow is pretty easy to create. I'm just going to make a new blank layer by clicking on the New Layer button in the bottom of the Layers panel. I'm going to double click on this and name it Shadow. And while I'm at it, name my layer for the model as well. Okay, so on the shadow layer, I'm just going to get black as my foreground color by clicking on the little preset button right here. Choose a brush tool, get myself a nice big old soft-edged brush, and I'm just going to go in here and just kind of paint in. Get my brush a little smaller here. Just paint in a little shadow. Now, this is going in front of our model right now, but we'll fix that in a minute. Alright, I'll take this shadow layer, drag it down in the layers panel under the model, and do a little more painting here to make it look more realistic. Get my eraser tool to kind of fix an area where I might have gone too far through here. Alright, and finally, I'll take this shadow layer, change the blending mode from normal to multiply, and then reduce its opacity until it looks realistic. I'd say probably right about there. And if necessary, you can go back to your brush tool and go zoom in a little bit. Got my brush tool. I'm going to make this really small and go in here. These little details like this can make a big difference. I know this is a little rough looking just because of the low resolution on your screen. There, that's better. Alright, that looks a lot more realistic. There it is without and with. So, with a little bit of effort, you can take these things and composite them together and make them look really nice.